So now we're going to be looking at persuasive writing and how to structure this. I did warn you that today was all about like the kind of dry stuff about this piece, but it is important that we get through it all, and I want to get through it all today because I know that some people are out tomorrow with TAFE and stuff, so I want to make sure that I've touched base with all of you guys about these important bits. So, persuasive writing. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do, and hopefully most of you have already decided, is your contention. So whether you think, yes, we should change the date, or no, we don't need to change the date, keep it as it is. Okay, you need to decide. You cannot sit on the fence. You can't go, yes, we should change the date for one paragraph, and no, we shouldn't for another. Okay, you must stick to one. Okay, create a clear contention in the form of a statement. So actually work out, right, this is what I think. Okay, so for instance, mine for example purposes is going to be Australia Day should change from the 26th of January. So I'm going to go with that argument. This is the message that you want your people to walk away with. So yours might be, yes, we should change the date. It could be, no, we shouldn't change the date. Or it might be, we should change the date to a particular day. So you might actually go, oh, we should change Australia Day to the 1st of January, the Day of Federation. Or you might go, we shouldn't change the date, we should have an Australia Day and an Indigenous Celebration Day. Fantastic. Okay, you could say we should have no day of celebration, there is nothing to celebrate. That would be fine. Right, all clear? Contention? Let's do it. Then write a plan. Once you've worked out your contention, you should write a plan. I have kind of seen that at least about a third of you have written some sort of plan by now, which is really, really good. If you are not in that category, you need to get yourself in that category quick smart. Okay? So, when you write out your contention, you need like 3 or 4 reasons why your contention is correct. So, for instance, mine are, my contention is you should change the date. And then my 3 arguments are, 1, because it's celebrating a day of invasion. 2, because it doesn't hurt anyone to change it. And then my 3rd argument is because it offers an olive branch to Indigenous Australians. Okay, they're going to be my 3 arguments. And I'm going to have a paragraph for each of those arguments. Okay, so a paragraph on day of invasion, a paragraph on doesn't hurt, and then a paragraph on olive branch. Make sense? Seeming very, very like what we do with text response essays so far. Okay, once you've got your 3 arguments, you then need to start finding evidence to back it up. Okay, it's not enough just to state your argument, you've got to back it up with some sort of evidence or perceived evidence. Now when I'm talking about perceived evidence, I mean you can talk from your own experience, or you could even do things like assumptions, going, everybody thinks we should change the date. That's evidence. It's perceived evidence. Okay? So, this is my example. So my argument is because it is celebrating a day of invasion. Okay? So here, I need to go onto the internet and research about what Indigenous people are saying about Australia Day and find some stats about white settlement in Australia. Read some recounts about the first landing and the first fleet and settlement, and then use that as evidence to boost my point. So if I'm saying it's a day of invasion, well, maybe I can do some research and find out, after January 26th, through to, Federation, how many Aboriginal massacres have there been? I could do that research. Or I could do some research and find out, what were Indigenous people's first impressions of white Australians, and maybe use that as some evidence. True? Okay, so I need to find some evidence to prove my point. Any questions so far? Step 4, you need rebuttal. Okay, you can't just put your argument out there and not counter the opposition. Okay, you need to rebut. Okay, so once I've argued my points, I then need to think about what I'm going to have to contend against, and I would usually put this in my last paragraph. So my last paragraph would be rebuttal. So usually I'd have intro, paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, rebuttal, and then conclusion. Make sense? Cool. Okay. So, for example, the idea that I have to rebut is that the opinion that we need to change the date doesn't represent every Indigenous Australian. Okay? That not every Indigenous Australian believes we need to change the date. So, my rebuttal to that would be, but, get it? Rebuttal, but, yes. But statistics show that the vast majority of Indigenous Australians have stated that they feel there should be a change of a date. Okay, so I need to actually tell the opposition why they're wrong. Or, if you can't say why they're wrong, a good way around it is to kind of go, why is that less important? Why is that information less important than the reasons why you think, you know, you should change the date or not change the date? Make sense? Cool. All right. Once you've kind of got it all planned out, then think about your headline. You need a heading, a title, okay? It should be catchy. You need to think about things like alliteration are a good way to use it. So like, I don't know, Australia Day Drama, you know, because you've got the DD, or I don't know. I can't think of it. Anyone got another alliteration that we could use? Oh, I know. Aboriginal atrocities acknowledged.
Too big. Not catchy enough.
With Australia Day.
Away with Australia Day. Good, that rhymes. Excellent. Away with that doesn't rhyme or anything. Right. So, the other thing that your contention needs to, your headline needs to do, thank you. I'm waiting. You can use your rhymes. The other thing that you need to make sure it does is that it makes your contention clear. So we should be able to read your headline and go, okay, so they want to change the date or they don't want to change the date. They have an opinion and this is what it is. Okay? Perfect. Right. Then I'd start thinking about the kind of persuasive techniques I want to use. A good way to do it is actually to write a list of the persuasive techniques that you want to use in your draft. Okay, and then you can kind of tick them off as you go and ensure that you are using a wide range of techniques. It's a good way to kind of do it. Step 6 is start writing. Okay, so, oh yes, Sally? Oh, you're just stretching. Okay. Intros. This is what you need in your intro. You need 3 things. Attention grabber. Something that grabs my attention to start with. The first sentence should be something interesting. And you say maybe a statistic, a quote, an anecdote, something that draws me in. Anything that proves your point and grabs attention. Okay, so for instance, with mine, I might start with maybe a quote from an Aboriginal elder about the pain that Australia Day brings him. I could start with a rhetorical question, yeah.
So you don't start with a contention.
You start by kind of like grabbing their attention. Yeah.
It's like a fun fact.
Yes. As long as it proves your point.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, so you don't
Not just like, oh, did you know that, you know,
elephants.
yeah, elephants can remember things from blah, blah, blah. No. All right. Shh. Thank you. Okay, once you've got your attention grabber, then you need your contention. Okay, so you state it clearly. Australia Day should be cancelled. Australia Day should not be moved, whatever. Okay, state it really clearly so there's no confusion. I should be able to read the first 2 sentences of your piece and go, right, I know what their contention is. They want to move Australia Day, they don't want to move it. Okay, and then discuss your arguments. Mention them each briefly, but don't give too much away. Okay, save that for your paragraphs. You don't need to give me all your information, but just kind of go, we should change the date of Australia Day because, but up. Make sense? That's it. That's your intro. It's probably like 3 or 4 sentences. Paragraphs. Ooh, that was a loud clap. 1 argument per paragraph. Okay, so mine were, sorry, I'm scrolling back. Day of invasion, 1 paragraph. 1 paragraph on doesn't hurt anyone to change it, and 1 paragraph on olive branch. For example, I would write 1 paragraph just discussing the importance of not celebrating Australia on a day viewed as of invasion by Indigenous Australians. I'd spend that paragraph just talking about that idea. Okay? I'd use lots of persuasive techniques and make sure you do each argument justice. That you actually do kind of go, right, I need to give evidence, I need to explain how that evidence proves my point. Oops, sorry, are we still copying? Moving on. Shantanu, shut that. All right. Now, in terms of structuring your paragraphs, oh look, TEEL. It's like TEEL is useful for things other than just writing text responses. It's like it might be useful in your life later on. Definitely. I actually had a student come up to me, when was it? I think it was last week. Yeah, actually, it was your sister. Chelsea Hardy came up to me last week when I was at Coles. She works at Coles at the bakery, and she's like, oh my God, miss, thank God you taught me how to write essay structure. The first week of uni, they gave us like a topic. She's studying midwifery, and she's like, yeah, I know. She's a very clever girl. And she's like, yeah, we had to write this like 2,000 word essay, and they didn't give us like any instructions about what we had to do. They just gave us the topic and was just like, good luck. And she's like, thank God you told me how to do it, because like otherwise like so many people failed. And I didn't fail because I knew like how to structure an essay. So, take that, jerks. This is actually useful information. Boom. I know. I'm going to make sure that you don't fail your uni courses. So, TEEL. Let's talk TEEL. Actually useful information. Did you know my husband's engineering firm actually paid me for a week to teach the engineers how to write TEEL structures? Because despite the fact that they are super smart, boy can't write. They can't write. They just like, they don't get it. And so like people get their reports and just go, there's information there, but what does it mean? Yeah. So I taught them how to write reports that actually make sense. And I taught them how to use TEEL. They did, because engineers like structures. Like they like formulas. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know, man. But also, I think, like, they also forget over time, like, to do these things. So, let's talk about TEEL. Let's talk about TEEL, baby. Right. Ready? By the way, my husband knew how to use TEEL. Obviously. Like, I would marry a man that couldn't write a bloody paragraph. That was actually our first date, that I was like, you're going to need to answer this question, you've got 50 minutes, and go. That was actually our first date. Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, vows. Oh, yeah. Right. So, okay. Okay, so each one of your persuasive paragraphs need to use TEEL because that's how you structure information. You give a topic sentence, which is one sentence that you go, this is what I'm arguing. Then you give evidence to prove what you're arguing is correct. You explain how it proves what you're arguing is correct. And then you link it to your overall contention. It just makes sense. Like, that's how you structure information. You know, this is applicable to all subjects, all lives. When you want to convey information, you need to go, I'm going to tell you this. This proves my point. This is how it proves my point. And this is how it's relevant to the overall discussion we're having. It just makes sense. So, here I have an example. Because I'm clever. Right. I'll just wait. Come on, I want to get through this quick. It's already taken us 17 minutes. Shh. So, I've got my topic sentence, and you'll notice, because I love a colour code. Colour code. So when you go back to this PowerPoint to have another look, you can actually double check how it all fits together if you're not great with the structure stuff. Lara, are you paying attention? Wonderful. So, here's my topic sentence. How can our community want to celebrate on a day of such sorrow for our Indigenous brothers and sisters? Okay, that is obviously a rhetorical question. It's got some emotive language in there with like a day of sorrow, and even that phrase like Indigenous brothers and sisters, making that emotional connection. Yeah, so, and then I've even got some inclusive language in there where I'm saying our community. Yeah, bringing you into the argument. So not only is that persuasive, but it also gives you what my first argument is. Alex, what is my first argument by reading that topic sentence?
On January 26, 1788.
No, I don't want you to read it. Tell me, by reading the red one, the red sentence, what is the argument in this paragraph?
Oh, it should be changed.
Why?
Because it's very sorry.
Good. Excellent. So my first argument is we should change the date because it's a day of sorrow. Cool. Now I give evidence. So I've said on January 26, 1788 was a day that the original owners of this beautiful land were forced to make way for the steamroller of white supremacy. From that day, they were forced to surrender their lands, their rights. Okay, so what I've done there is I've given the evidence of, like, first settlement by giving the date of it and basically saying, they landed. But it's also very persuasive. Why? What's persuasive about what I've said there? Just in that piece of evidence. Good. I've said beautiful land, which shows that I'm patriotic. I believe that this country is great. Good. I've used that that emotive phrase white supremacy, which when we hear the phrase white supremacy, what do we associate with? Nazis, like racists, bigots, bad things, KKK, we think bad, right? So what I'm then doing is I'm associating January 26th with this idea of extreme racism. Okay? I'm also using things like metaphor when I'm saying, you know, forced to make way for the steamroller of white supremacy, thinking about, like, you know, that white people came in and crushed Aboriginal people. Okay? So, once I've given my evidence, I don't know why there's the rogue computer open. I've got it on the board. Stay focused. I worry about your focus continuously. It keeps me up at night. I just stay awake going, is Nicholas understanding everything? What if he's not? What if he's not? Worries me. Right. Shh. Alana, not the best use of your time. Right. Still waiting. So once I've given the information about the First Fleet landing, I then have to explain why that proves my point. So I've said that sad moment in history was indicative of how white Australia was going to treat the original inhabitants of this land, shoved aside, robbed of dignity, and then ignored. Funnily enough, that is also exactly how Aboriginal people's feelings are being treated in regards to this issue. I guess, if nothing else, white Australia is consistent. Right. How am I being persuasive there? Good. Okay, I'm using a bit of kind of like irony. I'm being sarcastic by going, oh, well, I guess if nothing else, we're consistent. I'm being sarcastic. Yep. Yeah, exactly. I'm saying about a sad moment in history. Yeah. And obviously I'm associating Australia Day with being, you know, shoving aside, robbing of dignity, ignoring Aboriginal people. I'm associating those two things. Then what I've done, Lara, yes. Yes. So you will feature. Right. I'll just wait. Ladies, gents. So, I've then said, it seems completely wrong-headed to me that Australians would want to sit around cheering and patting each other on the back on a day that symbolises nothing but pain for our most precious of citizens. It's like having a birthday party on the day of your nan's funeral. You just wouldn't do it. Now there, I haven't actually used any, like, actual facts. What I've done there is I've kind of used perceived evidence. So I've kind of talked about, like, a generalisation, and then I've kind of done a nice little comparison to the nan's funeral thing. It feels perceived evidence, but it's not actual evidence. Then I explain it. Celebrating on the 26th of January, of all days to choose, trivialises Aboriginal pain and undermines any mourning and apologising we have done. Right. Then, that's great. Stay focused. Then last but not least, I do a link sentence, which sums up my argument and ties it back to the contention. January 26 is a day of sorrow for the people who have spent 80,000 years protecting our vast and beautiful land. How can we possibly ignore that? Okay, so I've tied it back to the contention. We need to change the date. Make sense?
So really it's like
So, conclusion. Step 1, restate your contention. 2, restate your arguments. 3, you do another attention grabber. Go out with something thought-provoking that makes them kind of go, that's a good point. Or, maybe I need to do something. You could use a quote, definitely. So, I've gone with, the 26th of January is not an appropriate day to celebrate our nation. To celebrate on this day hurts our Aboriginal brothers and sisters, and it would be no skin off our noses to change it. To change it now would be an excellent opportunity to extend an olive branch to our Indigenous community, a gesture that is sorely needed. And now, this is my thought-provoking kind of thing. I've said, we can't pretend to be ignorant to the hurt this is causing any longer. Aboriginal voices have spoken clearly, and it is time to finally listen. Make sense? This is seriously the easiest sack. Okay? If you do the tiniest little preparation at home, you can walk away with a very good result. If you don't get a good result, it's because you're lazy, not because you're stupid and you don't understand. You know? This is a really easy thing to do if you just do a little prep. Right, but we're not done there. Once you have written it, proofread it. Dear Lord, proofread it. Okay? So, my tip would be, proofread it aloud to yourself. I'll just wait. Thank you. Proofread it aloud to yourself so that you can hear where you breathe. Where you have a brief pause is where you need a comma. And when you take a full breath, that's where you need a full stop. I know, right? And make sure that you have used as many persuasive techniques as possible, because ultimately that is what I'm looking for.
Do you find it like too persuasive, or is that like good?
There is no such thing as too persuasive.
Like we're just like trying to cram up all these like.
Oh, like make sure it still makes sense. Like, yeah, you want it to make sense. Yeah. Questions, queries, concerns? No? Ta-da!